Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Hey, Thriving Farmers, Michael Kilpatrick here with another episode of the Thriving Farmer Podcast. And I think this is episode 120 or 130 something. So we are definitely getting up there. We are chatting today with Andrea McAdow, who is the owner of Rosebird Farms, a certified naturally grown farm located on 2 acres in the high desert of Northwestern Arizona. After starting her career in civil engineering and construction management, Andrea began farming to explore her passion for working with nature and serving her community. Rosebird Farms grows produce and cut flowers for their CSA and year-round farm stand. They also work with other regional farmers and value-added producers to aggregate and distribute a full line of local products through Mojave County. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Michael.
So chat with us. You started with a very different career. Talk to us. What made the change from civil engineering to farming?
Yeah, so my past life, I had worked in construction management for a larger general contractor in the Boston and Las Vegas area. We had moved out here for my husband's job to the Southwest. And I've been working up in Las Vegas. He was making the commute, ended up getting a job down here in Kingman, Arizona, about an hour and a half south of Las Vegas, just for a little geographical reference of where we are. And I was working for a general contractor here and kind of felt like I was ready to start my own business and change things up a little bit. And I was really interested in, gardening and being outdoors. And I started my business actually doing garden consulting. And that I was doing some marketing at the farmers market here and brought some of the produce that I had just grown out of my small little 1,000 square foot garden, and quickly realized that people were much more interested in the produce rather than the actual consulting side. So started to make the shift and started really small with just a little 8-member CSA, and we've been scaling up since then. And we do pack about 50 to 60 boxes a week for our CSAs with about 100 members rotating in and out each week for, weekly, bi-weekly sort of thing. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. All right. So you started, kind of grew. Talk to me about, when did the storefront come into play? Was that right from the beginning, or was that a little bit after you started?
So that was a little bit after we started. I had approached my now business partner, Sarah, who had a storefront downtown, Southwest Trading Company. And I just wanted to do a little pop-up in front of her shop. I knew we had a similar clientele, and those were people I was trying to reach. So I had asked her out for coffee to just discuss a little bit. We ended up talking for an hour. She actually ended up buying the coffee for me, as is her kind heart. So it was funny, but we hit it off, did a pop-up, we kind of became friends, and she was moving into a new space and asked me if I wanted to just have a corner of the shop. And so they she kind of talked me into it, and it's been working out great. So that's kind of how we got into it. And we also have one other business partner with a similar clientele, similar business ethics mindset, who does skincare. So we all kind of bring in different people and are able to offer a wide array of products for people.
All right. So this is a downtown in like a storefront. And what was your strategy of getting traffic in to start with?
Yeah, so we had Sarah's business had been established for a while, but we are right off Route 66, so parallel, 1 block away, which is a big tourist destination. So we get people that are tourists, but we also, do a lot of outreach with the community. We do some workshops getting started. And we also really tried to, when we were starting our business, create a lot of hype, started our social accounts a few months out, kind of gave the process of getting started up. So we also bring in partner with other local small businesses to still do some pop-ups and bring in different people and try to reach people that way as well.
Okay. Now, and you have that as a staffed, it's staffed regular business hours.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So we're open 6 days a week right now.
Okay. Now for the staffing, do you have training to tell them what to do with the different vegetables and the flowers and that sort of thing that you offer, or is just more about just general customer service?
Yeah, so I do some training with the new staff. Two of the business owners staff the shop for us 4 days out of the week, and then we have two young women who staff it the other days. But we do some onboarding with them just to make our displays look nice. And I also try to do a bigger farm stand on days that I can come in and really set it up and make it look great. And other days of the week, we have a limited amount just in a cooler that we restock as it dwindles down.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's kind of exactly how we're set up is the cooler. And then, on certain days we have bigger displays when more people are visiting.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So now for advertising of that, have you done like Facebook ads or it's just kind of organic? And again, you said your partner in there had, established business as well.
Yeah, so I for a while I was running like a $1 a day Facebook ad, which just seemed to be bringing in getting more eyes on our page, and it was affordable for me. And then we also so we've done that and just constantly trying to put events out. Facebook is really big in our community specifically. So there's a bunch of different Facebook groups that are really active in the Kingman community. So we try to make sure we're posting on there and, monitoring for anybody asking questions about produce, things like that. So we're trying to hit those people and get the information out that way as well.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm oversharing. Like, I don't know. I just feel being respectful of those groups sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
So have you like talked to me? Like, do you get complaints in there, or how do you deal with that? Or do you post daily or like once a week in there? What's kind of like been the schedule for that?
I wouldn't say daily. I think if we have there's like a big special going on, we'll share things. There's also a downtown, like what's going on downtown group that we will share regularly. Probably 3 or 4 times a week, but it helps having the different businesses. It doesn't look like it's all just coming from the same business, even though they're all coming to the same place, which that's helpful as well. But yeah, so it's definitely not trying to spam people with it, but really sharing the things that you really want people to get out there and see. And I feel like videos always do well too. If you're doing a live and walking around, that always seems to capture people's attention more so than just a post about a sale.
Yes. Yeah. We find that our live videos do incredibly well. And that actually people will say, oh my gosh, I saw your video and I came down.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And they like the live videos tend to get much better reach than recorded videos. The problem is I like to get the kids in the videos because that really works well. But with live, it's so one take. So
yes.
you never know.
Plenty. Yeah. I got to leave some room for bloopers.
Yes, especially with the 4 and the 6-year-old. So yeah, but that's really cool. I'm going to start doing a little more posting in there and see how that works. I think that's going to be, because it seems like people always love the videos and stuff, but I just feel, too bad with too much in there.
It's awkward too. I feel like with the lives, it's like you want to just kind of get your information out and sign off, but sometimes it's like you kind of just linger around and people will pop on and ask more questions, and that seems to work. Like I kind of tried that this week and it seemed to work and actually draw a little bit more attention. So I guess it's just not popping on and off does help as well.
Well, I think too, because what I found, and I'm kind of thinking from the customer's point of view, is that you get on, you show them around, but then new people pop on, and if you end right there, then they don't get to understand. So I end up kind of running through what's going on. Then I kind of will answer a question or talk about something. Then I'll do another run through, and if I still feel like I have good engagement, sometimes I'll do a third run through. So, anyway. So let's talk about your production, because obviously we jumped right to the sales, but let's talk about your production. You do a lot of flowers. Talk to us a little bit about the flower production.
Yeah, so we do both flowers and produce. Flowers are probably I'd say like a tenth of our production.
Mhm.
But I do think they draw in different people, and they seem to be one of those things that people come back for. And then they're also great for driving sales, like around Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. Those seem to be really big holidays where I try to kind of focus my production around.
Mhm.
So that's been good, especially, when you just tend to have like, just greens, when you don't have like the hot items like tomatoes and cucumbers. Like, get some new people in and get them to just buy some flowers. That's always a good way to get things going too.
Interesting. All right. So you just said there that they tend to buy more flowers around the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And we experienced that exact same thing. And again, as a brand new, we've done vegetables in the past, large scale, but this is like our first year of actually doing some significant flowers where it's not
Mm-hmm.
just sunflowers. And, Memorial Day and then July 4th weekend, I mean, we sold right out.
Yeah.
We could hardly keep as many. And is that because they're buying for their parties, you think, or gifts, or?
Yeah, I think it would be gifts. And yeah, it seems like they're usually buying for someone. And then there's also the people, who are like maybe spending the holiday alone. They're like, I just want something beautiful to hang
Mhm.
out with. So
Mhm. So in your environment, what kind of flowers do well?
So we have sort of a very Mediterranean climate,
Mhm.
which means we have mild winters. And I am moving towards almost all protected hoop house growing at this point, with our kind of harsh climate. So I do a lot of stuff overwintered. I do a lot of ranunculus, anemones do really well here. And then focusing on the summer months, doing sunflowers, zinnias that love the heat, celosia. Um, and let's see, in the winter to do some different fillers that don't take too much effort, like bells of Ireland and bee balm seem to do really well for us.
Mm. Okay, so then let's talk about 101 for people on these flowers harvesting. What time of day are you harvesting?
As early as possible. Usually in the winter when it's mild, I can kind of do it whenever. But yeah, definitely in the summer months when I'm you know, dealing with 100+ degree temperatures, trying to get super earlier in the morning or after the sun goes down at night. They just, have a lot more life to them. And so we try to get them when they're looking really good.
Okay, and then you harvesting directly into water?
Yes. Yeah. We bring our buckets right out with us and cut them and then put them in the cooler from there.
Okay, and then what kind of buckets do you use? Regular 5-gallon buckets, or even a specific one you like?
Yeah. So I do 5-gallon buckets. I also, every once in a while, if I'm in the grocery store, which I luckily don't have to go to too much anymore,
Yeah.
but I will just stop at the floral section and just ask them if I can just have any leftover buckets. Usually they're happy to give them to you. And then actually we work with, we do at one of our distribution points for our CSA is a brewery and a pub. So I just got the hot tip from one of our other farmers that he asked them for their pickle buckets and just the 5-gallon buckets that they're getting rid of. And they're actually a green color that seem to hold up better in our sun. So
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Yeah, we got a line on some really cheap square 4-gallon buckets,
Mm-hmm.
but they're kind of tight, and so you can't fit that many flowers into them.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of one of the things we've been like, we need to find something different. It's just not, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard too. It takes the buckets take a lot of space. So having shelves in your cooler are nice, and but they're always kind of the round, awkward shape is
Mhm.
playing around with those and being able to store as many as possible is fun.
Yes. Yeah. So do you use like Metro racks or something to store flowers, or?
Yeah, we do. We have just like the Home Depot chrome racks in our cooler, and then we'll
Yeah.
just those are nice because they're adjustable too. So if you have taller flowers or shorter ones, you can move them
Yeah.
around.
So can you do things like dahlias down where you are?
Yeah, so this is actually my first successful year with dahlias, doing them in the hoop house. I had tried to
Okay.
grow them in the field before, and once the heat came, it was just like they got fried. Spider mites came in. So
Mhm.
my first, yeah, so they're looking great this year. I amended my soil really well with goat manure that I was able to get,
Mhm.
and they've been looking good. I do have about 30% shade, and just keeping them really deeply watered, and they're doing great.
Okay, so lots of water. Now, did you plant them directly into the ground, or did you start them in pots inside and then bring them out?
So I did start just put some tubers directly in the ground. Others I've actually what that I was able to save from previous years, or I was able to buy in. I propagated, rooted them inside, got them going in little 2-inch pots, and then potted them out early in the
Mhm.
spring.
Yeah, we tried to do that. We did it in a larger pot, and because we were trying to take cuttings because we're trying to propagate, our
Hmm.
supply as much as possible. And I need to probably research this more because we had really bad problems. We lost maybe about 10 to 15% didn't even germinate for us, or didn't
Oh
even,
man.
yeah. And I know that's super high, especially with the cost of tubers.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I like to do them inside too, because I like to
Yeah.
make sure they're actually, viable before I put them in the ground. But I've had better luck using like a really good seed starting mix, and
Hmm.
that seemed to help. But it's tough getting the moisture levels right so they don't just rot right off the bat.
Yeah, because I think your goal is to keep them pretty relatively dry, and
Hmm.
you obviously want some moisture there, but it's relatively dry for that first bit until they start to really put on growth.
Right.
Yeah, and then yeah, absolutely. Hey, Michael here with another tip from Harvest Hosts. And Molly, talk to us how do people become a Harvest Host?
Super simple. All we need is for host locations to commit to having enough space to host at least one RVer overnight. So it's one overnight stay. And then we also ask that our host locations have products to sell. So that's all we ask from the host location. Moving forward to get you set up, it's a quick application kind of highlighting your contact information, the size of RVs that you can handle, the number of spaces. We set you up with a host profile. You're able to control contact information for your business, photos of the property if you want to highlight your social media pages to further increase awareness of your brand. But then also we have an online reservation tool, makes it super easy for you to decide when you want to be open for these overnight stays, if you have to black out dates for special events, and then approving and denying or declining any stays that you're just not ready for. So we really put kind of those decisions in the host's hands, but in order to get started, we just need overnight space.
Absolutely. And then why do people want to do this? I mean, the biggest thing is additional revenue if you have an on-farm stand or someplace to sell on-farm products.
Yeah, that's really it. I think around $13,000 annually is what our well-established hosts see in additional revenue from our members. So whether that's, like you said, the stands that our farmers are using to sell product from other vendors in the area, if it's a winery, it's tastings, bottles of wine, cases of wine, it's traffic that you wouldn't see in your general business practices. These are RVers that are going across country, trying to find a safe place to stay overnight, but they are encouraged to spend $20 minimum at host locations when typically they spend it around $50. So it's both that additional revenue and then also just increasing awareness nationally with your brand by having people who live all over the country stop by, bring that revenue back to you, and then hopefully kind of spread the word on your location moving forward.
Absolutely. Okay, so then the flowers is like a 10% of what you do. And are you selling those mainly straight or always as mixed bouquets or?
So what we used to do, when we were kind of casting a wide net when we got started, we were
Mhm.
doing a little bit of event work. Right now we've cut that out pretty much completely. And even the mixed bouquets, I pretty much cut out. I do mostly straight bunches. But I think as we add, add a few more employees here and there, we'll probably start doing the mixed bunches again. That seems to be what people really like. But I think the flowers, if you grow bigger focal flowers like we're focusing on right now, they do still do pretty well in a straight bunch.
Mhm. Okay, so interesting that you said cast a wide net. Talk a little bit more about what you meant there.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, when I got started, I didn't necessarily intend on doing the farming. So Kingman didn't really have too much of an established market for local food. There's a few farmers that are just really awesome people, but it's just not enough to really meet to the demand. So I kind of started just trying different things to see what people were really looking for. So we did, like I said, a little bit of event work. We did more flowers in the past, and then, I did some a different kind of CSA model where it was, just whatever we were, just like the same thing for everybody. And now we've kind of gone to just doing our, not just doing our, but doing a CSA that's more customizable, which seems to be working for people for an area that's not quite used to the CSA model. So, but yeah, we've tried a bunch of different things, a bunch of different crops too, just to see what would actually work out here on that side. Because there's, like I said, there's not a whole lot of agriculture going on. So kind of had to figure out what works well for us in our system and what doesn't. So, and now we've kind of narrowed it down to, on my farm, I grow, like I said, the flowers, but also mostly greens, roots, and then in the summer do a lot of cucumbers, tomatoes, squash. And then we partner with other farms to bring in the different variety of stuff, and a lot of fruit, which people really love, but it's harder to get that kind of production established. So yeah, that's kind of focusing on what we do well here, and then partnering with other people to bring in a wider variety of stuff.
Yeah, we found, I think that's the key, that at the beginning, that first 1 or 2 years is going to be doing a ton of different things just to try a bunch of different stuff, especially depending on where you are in the country. Like upstate New York, they wanted different things than they want down here in Ohio. Down here in Ohio, half runner beans are like a local thing. And they're these, again, they're not as big as a green bean. They're half the length of a green bean. They're a vine crop, and people want them by the bushel.
I've actually never heard of them.
Which actually makes them incredibly hard and expensive to produce. But because of our local clientele, they want them at dirt cheap prices. So it makes it like, it's one of those things you're like, okay, how do we position this? So we can still make money on it, because, charging. And again, last year, because of the pandemic, people, were charging as much as $150 a bushel for them, and people were paying it.
Oh, wow.
But now with basically things being a little bit back to normal, those kind of prices we can't get. I mean, like when we're charging $6 a pound for green beans, which are, a lot easier to pick, and now you're looking at a 40-pound bushel. And then you're like, okay, we have to pick something that's harder, and they want it only at a bushel. So yeah, it's one of those things where we're trying to figure out, how do we make this work? And we try not to buy stuff in. We try to produce as much as possible on site, because we have this land. But it's, so it's just playing around with that and trying a whole bunch of things and seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, keeping your market in mind is a huge part of that too.
So another thing you said was they like a semi-customizable CSA. Are you using specific software for that, or how are you managing that?
Yeah, we use Harvey right now.
Okay.
And that's, it's nice because I can put in, everything I have available to harvest, and then talk to my different people that I partner with, and get an estimate from them, put it in, and people can go through there and basically almost like grocery shop. They get they get their base box, and they can go in and swap from there. But we're also able to add in like eggs from a local farmer, ground beef, and broth bones from one of our ranchers here. And then I do carry some different value added goods from people around the state, jams and jellies, honey, stuff like that.
And then is that all kept in inventory at the store, and then you're able to just pull it from there?
Yeah, we're trying to kind of figure that out right now. So I do keep it. So that's pretty much how it works right now. I do keep a small amount of stuff that I know that goes regularly in the CSA at the farm. But we are going to be building a new wash pack, and hopefully have a better system for keeping some inventory on the farm as well.
Yes. Yeah. Because I find that obviously holding inventory costs money.
Yes. Yeah.
We've been able to do a consignment with some people where they hold it, and then we just pay them for what we sell. And obviously we take a lower margin, but it's not tying up money. Yeah.
And it's luckily, man, we got really lucky where, granted, we did not buy this property for agricultural uses when we bought it. We've kind of just been making it work, but the location is great, where we're only 8 to 10 minutes from the shop. So if I do have to ever run down there and get something, it's pretty close.
That's nice. Okay. So you are certified naturally grown. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I decided right off the bat to go certified naturally grown. for me, it was just about transparency and just building trust with people, so that when they asked if it was organic, I could give them a good answer. But it's been great. It's grassroots. There's a much lower barrier to entry as far as cost, and inspection wise, they do a peer inspection. So it's also kind of great for networking and getting to meet other people, getting to check out their operations, and seeing how they do things as well. So yeah, it's a great kind of organization, and I've been like being certified naturally grown.
Yeah. Now, how do you tell talk to your customers about that? Because I know you can't say I'm certified or I'm organic. So what's the language you use around that?
Yeah, so I basically tell people it's like organic for small guys, or like organic, but more in a grassroots level, and basically just talk about the main things: no spraying pesticides, no using synthetic fertilizers,
No GMOs.
Yes, exactly. So that's just, I kind of hit on those main things, and they usually drives the point home.
Gotcha. So let's say, how many years have you been farming now?
So we started really small scale in the end of 2018. So
Okay.
I still feel very much as a novice here.
Yeah. So talk to us about the relationships with the other farmers, because I know you're bringing in product. How do you talk to them about that? Do you try to, share amounts that you're interested in, or is it more like, we're just going to see how it goes and it's just what they have available?
Yeah, it's so luckily the farmers I do work with, I mean, they were one of the guys, Mark, he was, right out of the gate was super welcoming when I came to the farmers market. I think he's been encouraging me since day one. And Brittany, who's down in Fort Mojave, which is a little over an hour away, super encouraging, awesome people. But yeah, and then I work with another one here in town, Adam, but just basically talk to them, see what they have available, and kind of judge with their prices what I think I can mark it up to be able to market to my community. So and we talk a little bit like a bit ahead of the season too, what I might like to buy and see, but it's still kind of informal at this point. And then I'm working with some newer farmers. One of my business partners, Alex, who does the skincare, is also starting up her mushroom operation, which is really exciting. So that's really cool. She just built a nice big grow room for those. It's coming along really great. And then I'm working with some other friends who are starting up their operation. I'm going to kind of help with their crop plan, and I'll end up pretty much marketing the bulk of what they have too. So it'll just kind of be almost an extension of our farm, but just kind of, working together really closely with them.
Gotcha. Now you're also doing a lot of work with SNAP and EBT. Talk to us about how you made that work.
Yeah, so that has been really awesome for us in our community. We work with a group called Pinnacle Prevention. They do Double Up Food Bucks Arizona. So anybody who uses SNAP EBT gets 50% off of fresh produce. So we've been able to actually use that in our CSA, so people can pre-order boxes, and the CSA model, something that would normally cost them $29 will cost them $14.50.
Okay.
So that's really been great for helping to get people food that way. And yeah, it's been, man, we probably have between week to week, 5 to 10 people that do it with SNAP EBT. And then we probably have another, 5 to 10 people that come in, but that's a few $100s in sales a week. So that's been really great. And for us, I know my food is more expensive, especially in a small town. So it's nice to be able to kind of bridge that gap and meet people where they are as well.
Now, what are your prices on different things? Do you have some examples you can talk about?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely a market from the grocery store. So tomatoes, $4 to $5 a pound. Let's see, my greens mixes that I do normally $4 a bag for a 4-ounce bag of spinach. Try to be in the $12 to $16 a pound range. And then just bunches of roots, usually $3 to $4 a bunch, depending on how big and what kind of time of year it is.
Very cool. Yeah, that's kind of where we are. Yeah, absolutely. So in your couple years, what would you say the keys have been to your success and growth? What kind of lessons have you learned along the way?
I think on the the business marketing side of it, I think really building those connections with people, because, just making people feel good about the decision they're making. And then, you go out of your way to do something nice for people every once in a while, and they're going to tell, everyone they know about it. So that's been really great. But then also, just on the farming side, perseverance, because out here it's pretty brutal, being in the high desert. So, just perseverance and just keeping constantly thinking of ways you can improve, and just knowing that, like, it is possible to grow here. You just got to kind of flip the switch a little bit. Cause I grew up in Buffalo, New York, where completely green, beautiful, it's pretty easy to grow there. So it took me a while to adjust to being in the desert and understanding just how different it was. And especially with the growing seasons, how much different that is, where we do, the bulk of our stuff in the winter and take more time off in the summer.
Yeah. Now, do you have a team on the farm, or is it just you?
Yeah, I have, on the farm, I have 2 team members. My sister, who actually by happenstance ended up in the agricultural world, came out here to visit during the beginning of the pandemic, and I coaxed her into staying for a while. So she's been kind of been our distribution manager, doing deliveries for us, helping pack CSA boxes. And then I have one other young woman who helps do our wash pack, get everything ready for CSA, and helps man our farm stand and CSA pickups.
Very cool. Now, do you have like a training system for them, like with the SOPs, or it's just been training them on the job as you go?
Yeah, we're working on that right now. So kind of figuring that out as far as like individual vegetables. So on our off season right now, we're sitting down to figure out more of that, so we have more consistency across the board, especially as we're planning to scale up our growing area right now, just so we have those kind of nailed down, but not super established. And we're kind of working together now to get that established, as we're a small team still.
Absolutely. Well, what would you share with folks that are thinking about getting started in farming?
Yeah, I would say probably, feel it out and take it slow, and just really get a feel for your property, your market. It takes a while, and knowing that it takes a while to really get established. Yeah, that's just managing your expectations up front, I think, is really important if you want to be in it in the long haul.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today and coming on the podcast. Appreciate it. And I can't wait to share this with our audience.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Hey, Thriving Farmers. Have you checked us out on YouTube lately? We have a bunch of new content there, including a few rants by me. I want to tell you, you don't want to miss them. I actually go rant about, some of the problems I see in our space and some of the challenges I see farmers facing. So go check that out. We've got instructional videos over there as well. Talk about setting up our new farm here in Ohio and all the steps we're going to do that, as well as just tutorials and tips on best practices for all sorts of things on the farm. So go ahead, check over at Growing Farmers on YouTube and see the new content we put together for you. So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.